This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, look at that. This is such a very beautiful sky. You can see that this morning we are going to have a lovely sunrise. A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of the game drive. My name is Sydney and I am not alone. I am with Dave. We are both going to be with you on this game drive this morning, and hopefully we are going to enjoy a lot of this activity. For your questions and comments, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. My plan this morning is to look for Thandi and Kalamba. I have seen that Thandi and Kalamba has been spotted by the dam cam. So now I'm going to follow the updates all the way from the dam cam and see where they have disappeared. Look at that. You can see the reflection of the sun. It's nice and pink by the sky. Can't wait for the sun to come out. It's going to be very lovely. So let's carry on and see what I can find. Good morning again. I'm going to have to use my spotlight as it's still dark here where I am, just to try and see if I can pick up some of the tracks. The only tracks I'm seeing so far is rhino tracks. So Thandi and Kalamba, they are becoming very shy. They are coming to the waterhole at night these days. As also yesterday, they were spotted at the very same waterhole at night. Puma, Thandi and her cub, not too sure where exactly they went to. I am trying to check that, but that side of Mbobo Road, I heard some noise. It seems like the wild dogs are also in the area. So I'm just going to try and check a little bit here if I can find some tracks and then decide to follow that area. So I prefer to come to the junctions because that is where I normally find the tracks going all these directions. No tracks for Thandi and Kalamba at the moment. They didn't come this side, so I'm just gonna go up Mbobo Road and check this area there because I heard some wild dogs calling just before I've started. So now let's go to Masai Mara. Brent is also about to start now and see what Brent is planning to do this morning.
Good morning and welcome to yet another marvelous day on safari. My name is Brent Smith. I have the extremely talented Manu on camera with me today, and we're hoping to find lots of incredible things this morning. Now, we are over 2,000 kilometers on the road, away from Sydney at Djuma. I wish Sydney the best of luck finding my favorite animal, the African wild dog. We're going to head down towards the river, check in with Scarface and his girlfriends, and maybe see if there's any animals attempting to commit suicide in the murderous Mara River. Okay, and as you can see, at this time of the year, we are challenged in the Mara by a lot of rain, and we are heading south towards some more rain at the moment. Hopefully it dissipates before we get down there. Otherwise, we'll get our swimming trunks on and our flippers, and we will continue to wade through the water to bring you the best that the Mara has to offer. Okay. Yesterday we committed about 5 hours to a herd of topi that looked like they wanted to cross. Unfortunately, they did not cross. So hopefully that big herd of topi has built up enough courage overnight, and they haven't been decimated by the lions, and we'll be thinking about crossing again. Now, as you can see, lots of puddles around. We had another massive storm last night, so certain areas are going to be very difficult to access, and we will not be going into those areas, not only because we might get stuck, but also if you drive on these soils when it's very wet, you can actually do damage to the soils, cause erosion. So we, of course, are responsible, so we don't like to do that if we can help it. So I think, unfortunately, unless the sun comes out today and dries it out, it'll be very difficult to get to the North Clan Den, and it's a very, very soggy area. But we will have a look at how it goes and see what wonders we can find. Now, while we meander towards the south, I've got a Sunday morning brain teaser for you. And the Sunday morning brain teaser for you is a mammal brain teaser. I would like to know what a hiriola is. What family of animal is a hiriola? Don't cheat and use Google, #SafariLive if you know the answer. Wisteria says it looks like there's a lot of rain in the Mara. Well, there's always a lot of rain in the Mara. As a general rule, we are at a very high altitude. We have Lake Victoria about 70 kilometers to the northwest of us, and actually all parallel along the Mara, and big bodies of water like that do create lots of clouds because the evaporation off the big body of water. So this is a high rainfall area, probably receiving 700 to 800 mils of rain more than the Lowveld of South Africa. And that's of course why we have this lovely long grass, and you have the huge numbers of animals that migrate, the wildebeest, zebra, tommies, eland, etc. So there are benefits to getting wet all the time, and of course that's long, luscious, sweet veld grasses. Now it's quite a unique ecosystem to have all these things to form this type of ecosystem. Again, we've got this layer of volcanic ash, which is really high in nutrients, high altitude, high rainfall, and that's what's created these massive grasslands. And of course, over the last 15,000 years, these grasslands have been inadvertently managed by the Maasai people with burning and grazing of their cattle. And as elephants have also helped keep the trees at bay. So it is a very, very interesting ecosystem, a very ancient ecosystem as well. Kelly says a rodent. Negative, Kelly, negative. It is not a rodent. I think this one's going to keep you guys going for a while. I'll say I don't think anyone's going to get it without cheating till I get to at least Mogoro, which is about 7 or 8 kilometers away. But I think there might be 1 or 2 people who might sneak a little type on the Google, but I'm guessing the spelling might be tricky. April, it is not a bird. It is a mammal. I said it was a mammal quiz. So it is a mammal. It is an endangered mammal. I might give you another clue a little bit further down the road. Okay. What are we going to find this morning? Dory wants to know, are they waterbuck? They are not Dory, but let's just say an antelope is in the right direction. Ah, is this whoa, I didn't quite catch that. Can we go again? Is this my hill friend? No, it's not my hill friend. There's a young Ellie bull who's got particularly large tusks. Lovely Laurie says man boobs. It's definitely not man boobs, lovely Laurie. Look at that. You can just see the sun and a balloon and lovely Ellie bull. Not my friend who keeps blocking my path up and down the hill early in the morning and late in the evening, but still a lovely young Ellie nonetheless. But we have got a mission this morning. We're going to keep moving towards the river. I want to see if that topi herd that we invested so many hours might be early morning crosses to try avoid the crocodiles. They're going to be a little bit more sluggish this early in the morning when it's cool. Not to say they won't feed, but they are a little bit less on the move in the morning. Okay, I'm obviously the complete opposite, and I'm raring to go, even without a cup of coffee. I think I've got natural caffeine that just stimulates somewhere in me. But we're going to send you back to Sydney on his search for my favorite creature, the African wild dog.
I am here now by the side of Galagopen area in order to see if I am going to find some tracks, and I'm listening to what is happening in the area at the same time as well. But now seems to be very much quiet. I'm just going to try and drive around here to see if I'm going to pick up some tracks, and if it's difficult, I will then go towards the eastern side where maybe we might find Tandi or Kalamba, as their tracks got disappeared somewhere around the Viotella pen. So they are probably somewhere in that area. But first, I'm trying to investigate these wild dogs call first. No tracks at the moment. Not even for the cats. Not only dogs. Difficult to even find the tracks for hyenas this morning. Oh, my first hyena tracks. Laurie, the leopards mostly sorry sorry, I'm just losing my voice a little bit. The leopards mostly they start sowing at the age of older than 1 year, but to introduce their territories they start to do those kind of signs when they are older than 2 years. And then to breed, they are going to start when they are over 3 to 4 years. So I hope we're going to find one of these leopards this morning, or all of them this morning. Kelly, the hyenas, they are not part of the feline, they are part of the canine. So the hyenas, a lot of people, they confuse between them and dogs. So now let's go back to Brent and see, maybe Brent is lucky already in Masai Mara.
Oh, welcome back, welcome back. It seems like the mystery mammal quiz this morning is keeping people on their toes. Now, it is a particularly beautiful, well, maybe not beautiful, but strange looking. Ah, well done, James Richard. It is indeed a type of hartebeest. It is it is one of, if not probably the most rare of the hartebeest family, and it is endemic to Kenya and Somalia. And that's what makes seeing it so difficult, because of where it lives. So, let me just, there we go. That's what it looks like. Very long horns for the hartebeest. Whoopsie, what's going on there? Whoopsie, pushing too many buttons. But to give you an idea about where it lives, that's it, in the whole world, in Kenya. Now, this little population down south here is actually a breeding population, so they didn't naturally occur there. They live in the semi-desert scrubland of northern Kenya into Somalia. And even in that range in Kenya, they are very, very difficult to find and rare. And people don't know if there are any left in Somalia, because unfortunately that area is Al-Shabaab is very active in that area. It is even risky on the Kenyan side to go have a look to try see the Hiriola. Now, in the same area, there was that leucistic giraffe seen last year as well. So, an interesting area, semi-desert scrubland, but maybe one day I'll get there. I'm trying to figure out, I think it's the last hartebeest. And then I've seen all the hartebeests in Africa. And you just work it out. Diag says it looks like a cross between an impala and a gnu. They are quite funny looking, aren't they? I'm trying to think. So, red hartebeest. And you go, Liechtenstein's hartebeest. Yes, there are Cokes, Topi, Sesame, and Hunters. Another name for Hirola is a Hunter's hartebeest. I think, if I remember correctly, it's the last of the hartebeest family that I need to see. Hopefully that area becomes safe, not only for the hartebeest, but for the people who live in that area as well. What we got there? Good morning, birdie. It looks like a snake eagle just from the shape, but let's have a look once Manu zooms. Yes, hello. I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, definitely a snake eagle. Black, no, not a black-breasted. It is a black-chested snake eagle. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, carrying on. Tussles was asking, are there any eland around? There are. If I see some, I will definitely show you. They move around quite a bit, but there are quite a lot of eland around at this time of the year. Maybe we'll even see some down by the river. Dory is wondering, has the mud made it difficult for predators to hunt down prey? Actually, the complete opposite, Dory. Wet, muddy conditions make it easier for the predators to take down prey. The hyenas especially love it. They'll just sort of jog till their poor prey slips and falls on its face, and then they'll jump on it. And quite often that the same goes for the lions. It makes it a bit easier for them to actually hunt down prey, because with the antelope's hooves, they tend to slip and slide a little bit more than the predators. Okay. Now, I thought I would get further before someone figured out that Hirola was a hartebeest. So now I think I need another quiz. Whoa, Manu, what do you think? Stick with the mammals? Let's go to the birds. Ah, let's go to the birds. Let's go to the birds. I'll start off with a nice easy bird one. So if you know the answer, give the people who don't a chance to answer. And it's, what bird has the longest migration? Oh look, we have a North Clan member out on patrol. Probably one of the boys. So which bird has the longest migration in the world? Hello, Northie. Why are you looking guilty? Are you trying to hunt Thompson's gazelles in the wet? I think that's exactly what you're doing. So we're just talking about how the mud helps the hyenas. Here we have hyenas. Now, he just chases, and I've seen them do this. When it rains, they do it even more. Thompson's gazelles are one of their favorites, and they'll just chase them till they sort of slip and fall. There's a second hyena coming in. Is it Waffles? Waffles. It's collared, but I don't know if it's Waffles. Manu's probably better at IDing hyenas than me after all the time he spent at the den with Jamie. Doesn't look like Waffles. I think it's one of the collared boys. Yeah, it's not Waffles. Waffles I can recognize. Even without her collar, she's quite distinct. So this actually probably means this is the boundary between North Clan and the Olololo clan. So this could be Olololo clan right on the boundary. It could also be North Clan. I'll have to ask Jamie if there are any collared males in North Clan. Oh, you can hear the ground hornbills in the distance. So see how this hyena just had a quick run to see if the Tommies would fall on their face. And they showed that they weren't going to slip just yet, so time to move on. Way too unbattle scarred and perfect ears to be Waffles. Now, for those of you wondering about the collar on the hyena, that is because a lot of the hyenas in this part of the Mara are being studied by Michigan State University. It is probably the longest ongoing predator study in the world. Oh, a third hyena. Oh, listen to the frogs, isn't it wonderful? Now, judging that they're coming from the south, it is probably North Clan. Let's go get a closer look. But we would have to ask our hyena expert, Jamie. This is right. I know this is the boundary between North Clan and Olololos. Hey, funny looking. Carol is wondering which animal has the most stamina in the Mara. Well, that's an interesting question, Carol. It depends if you I suppose if you're just walking. Oh, there's a car coming behind us. I'm gonna have to move just to make space. So they can pass us. So Carol, it's, as I say, it's quite a difficult one. Morning. So I don't know. In terms of sort of hunting and stuff, it's probably definitely the hyenas. In terms of walking, probably still hyenas actually. I'd say hyenas probably have the best stamina. Elephants as well have incredible stamina, but obviously used in very different ways to the hyenas. Well, we're going to let the hyenas toddle on. We're going to keep toddling south. But, I mean, if you think about it, the wildebeest have great stamina. They walk massive distances. But I'd say probably elephant and hyena. Okay, we're trying to get down south. Holly wants to know how many hyena have the tracking collar on. I'm not 100% sure, Holly. Generally, from what I've heard from the Michigan State girls, that there will be, they try to do a high-ranking, mid-ranking, low-ranking female, and then some dispersal males. So the three clans that they research extensively here in the Mara are South Clan, North Clan, and Happy Zebra. And if you find collared hyenas in any of the other clans, they are generally will be males that have dispersed. So normally there'll be 3 per clan, high ranking, mid ranking, low ranking. I mean, that's what makes Waffles so fascinating. She started off at the bottom, and now she's the queen bee. Okay, as I say, I'm going to go try see if I can find those topi you wanted to cross. While we do that, let's send you to Tristan, who's just getting started.
Well, good morning everybody, and as Brent has said, we've just started on our morning's bushwalk. It is perfect morning to be out on foot. It really is beautiful this morning. Bit of a little kind of breeze that's blowing that's quite chilly, but other than that, it's clear skies and should be a wonderful sort of morning to be out in the bush, and hopefully it's going to be a successful one. Now, we've been sitting around at final control, kind of waiting to get going, waiting for a bit of light. It's still quite dingy at the moment. And the plan was to try and help Sydney with the leopards that were around last night. And what we're going to do is we're going to head off to the northern side. And as we kind of were disembarking, Herbie and I were talking about antlion tracks, and Senzo's superhuman sensors, which, careful there, Senzo, there's a little slippery, picked up the sound of what sounded like maybe a nyalo or a kudu barking to the north of Gallagher Pan. Now, I think that must be for Thandi and Tlalamba. They went up Mvubu. So I'm hoping that if we head in that direction, then we'll get lucky and we'll be able to actually see them. So that's the plan for now, is that we're going to head northwards slowly, try and see. Now, there's a bit of bird life that we've spotted to start the day. Now, I know Brent has been doing quizzes on birds and various other things, but towards the east and up in the tree, you can see a beautiful hornbill that's sitting there. Now, it looks like a redbilled, just given the size of the beak. Much smaller than what you see on the yellowbills. The yellowbills have a much bigger, bulkier beak by the looks of it. I could be wrong. I forgot my binoculars today. It's not good though. There it goes, off it goes, flying towards camp. No doubt off to go and raid the kitchen after coffee and tea this morning. David was out and about grabbing all kinds of rusks and things, and David generally leaves some crumbs behind. Right, now, hopefully, these pathways will lead us to success. I don't know what's going on with our leopards and why they're at the same pan every single night, but I suspect that potentially Thandi and Tlalamba might have a kill somewhere, or if indeed Sydney heard wild dogs, Tandy seems to be following the dogs around quite a lot. In fact, there the wild dog tracks are right there. So there is a track for the dogs. You can see the two toes on either side, that flattened back pad, and then these two toes in front. Now this pad at the back is quite indicative for dogs. So the dogs obviously were around, and like I say, Tandy and Kalamba lately have been kind of following dogs and almost stealing their kills. We know of one for sure, but there could also be definitely a second occasion where she stole meat from the dogs. So, you know, and it was when Hosanna first kind of stole her kill. I think that was a dog kill that she then stole from them. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see whether or not they're around. There's also tracks for a leopard that's here. So there we go. There is the leopard that's walked this way. Now I walked here yesterday afternoon. You can actually see my tracks, my older tracks going this way. So these leopard tracks were between when I walked here yesterday afternoon during drive and this morning. And it looks like Tandy's tracks that have been moving around here. So she's been all over the place, which is typical. Every single morning we get going, there's just tracks everywhere. Now, sorry, Emma, if you can repeat the name for me. Purple. What are the best shoes for walking? Well, here in South Africa, we mostly wear what's called a veldskoen. Or a vellie for short. Basically, they are just a leather upper with a kind of rubber or EVA sole, basically. These ones that I'm wearing are from Kenya, actually. And these are a little bit on the softer side. The sole is quite soft, and it gives way a little bit to thorn. So not ideal for South Africa. South African vellies, as we call them, are a little bit more sturdy on the sole. These are quite comfortable though, and I like wearing them, so I use them quite a bit. But essentially this is what a lot of people wear out here. But any kind of hiking boot is generally okay. The thing about being in the bush is that you want something with a decent sole, because a lot of the thorns out here will penetrate the soles very, very quickly, and you'll not be very comfortable when a thorn goes straight into your foot. So decent soles. Leather uppers generally work very, very well. So the reason why people want leather is because they want to be able to, well, it's much more sturdy and durable and lasts a lot longer. So leather boots, and then, like I say, any sort of mountain climbing shoes, or, you know, I find though the thing about big kind of bulky climbing boots is that they tend to be a little bit heavy, and so especially in the summer months when it's very hot out here, you don't really be wanting to wear these heavy boots that are padded, because ultimately then you just end up feeling as though you're about cooking from your foot down, and they're also very bulky, and walking around here in those is not so nice. So a veldskoen is much lighter, and it breathes quite well. So they're the best kind of things, and you'll notice that pretty much all of us have them. So, you know, except for Brent. Brent's the only one that doesn't, but he wears a different kind of shoe. He wears a sandal that he likes. He likes to have more breathability around his toes, and that's a good thing, because James Hendry says that Brent's shoes really smell, and so if he's not wearing proper closed shoes, then we don't have to worry about that at all. Right, we're going to head northwards. We're going to try to see if we can find where these animals were barking. While we do that, let's send you back across to Sydney and see if he's had any luck with those dogs or the leopards.
I am still after the Tandy and Kalamba here, and I'm happy that the guided walk also is assisting me to find these two interesting cats, and hopefully we will see them maybe before the end of this game drive. There's quite a lot of different tracks here where I am, but all these tracks are not for Tandy and Kalamba, just a lot of hyenas, and mostly these hyenas are following Tandy and Kalamba. Mark, the difference between the wild dogs and the pet dogs is that if you look at the tracks, their tracks, they don't look the same. For the domestic dogs, the tracks are much larger than the one of the wild dogs. And if you look at their coloring and the ears, the wild dogs' ears, they are like a bat ears. They are round. For the domestic dogs, the ears are not round. So there is a very big difference between these two, and the coloring as well. If you check, the wild dogs coloring is completely different from the domestic dogs. It's very much cold here by Muluwati area, as if we are still in midwinter. I can see that Dave, my camera operator, is freezing. Crazy. Next again, the wild dogs can be very much dangerous. And remember, wild dogs are those animals that walk in a pack. So the leopards, mostly they are solitary, which can be very dangerous to encounter the wild dogs. They can defend themselves when cornered, but to go after the wild dogs can be a serious mission. It is very much cold here by Muluwati. I'm not surprised now why Dave is freezing. The rainy season in Juma is just from the end of October towards November is when we are starting to get the first rains. And after that, December is when we are right by the rainy season. And it's going to leave by end of May. I'm standing by, Sand. Okay, copy that, thank you. So I'm just going to try and check much more this side to see if we can find this. So now let's go back to the bushwalk. Already they've got Tandy and Tlalamba tracks.
We do indeed, Sydney. We've got tracks for all three of our leopards that we've been mentioning this morning that were at the pan on the other side. So this track that we've got here is Hosana's track. You can see it's got this kind of big appearance to it, quite big toes. But just to the right of it, you can see he was playing around with Tlalamba, because here is Tlalamba's track. These are her toes in front, and here, and you can see both of them were actually running. There's quite a lot of force that's coming down here and kind of pushing in and pushing this mud up. And so it seems like from the tracks all over this area that these guys have been playing quite a bit and they've been running around. Now what we're trying to work out is whether or not these are the tracks from before they went to the pan, and that was at, we know that they left the pan at 4 o'clock this morning, or if this is where they came after that. Now I know that they went in different directions, but they could easily have ended up back on this side once again. And well, the reason why we think that these are quite fresh is I'll show you over here. You can actually see where Tandy scent marked. So she basically was scraping her back legs and urinated, and it's left quite a kind of wet spot, and it hasn't had a chance to really dry. You can actually see here all this disturbance that you see in the ground, so all these little pockets that are happening here, this is all from where these leopards were running around and actually playing with one another out here. Now the scent mark that I was in, can actually see where they rubbed up on buffalo dung too, which is quite cool. So this is where one of the cats would have put its head and pushed into this buffalo dung. We know that they like to do it. Tingana often does it, but this was, by the looks of things, Hosana. There's his track over there, and so he looks like he was rolling around in buffalo dung. But here's the scent mark that I was talking about. So they've walked in here, back legs, scraping in this direction, make a V like this. Here you can see the soil that was scraped up, and there is the urine for this particular predator now, or particular cat, which would be Tandy. But what we do, and Herbie and I have already been at the scent mark, is that if you scratch it, you can actually see kind of how fresh it is and how much it's sort of soaked in. Now underneath the sort of dusty crust that's formed, so you see there's a little bit of dust there, when you scratch in underneath, you can actually see that this soil is still very, very wet. And so it hasn't seeped too much just yet, and the soil hasn't had a chance to dry. So it looks like, Herbie and I reckon this morning, so it looks like they went from the pan to this area. The bushbuck or nyala or kudu, well, we're still debating which one it is, that was alarm calling, seems to be an alarm calling from the northern side here. Now, if they were in this area, what could have happened is that they could have shifted north, one of them, and the others could have moved off, because it looks like Tandy and Tlalamba head off into the west, whereas Hosana's tracks, we're just still trying to figure out where exactly he went. But it's a really cool kind of scene to see. You can see that they played, then he did his normal thing where they roll in buffalo dung to mask their scent, and then there's a scent mark that's taken place. Now, I wouldn't be surprised that when Thandi scent marked right here, Hosana was lying just to my right. And she often does this. Every time Hosana gets too close, she'll kind of scent mark right next to him just to try and kind of prove a point to him. But it's interesting, this dynamic at the moment, and to see the tracks where they've actually been playing is quite something. I really hope at some point we can get these three together like this at one of these pans in a drive, because it would just be so spectacular to see them. So, Tim, I mean, there's a lot of ways to tell fresh tracks and which are not. Basically, when we go out here, there's always, in the mornings when you go out, you'll try and find tracks that's firstly are very, very clean edges. So we'll go to the tracks in the mud and I'll try and explain to you what I'm talking about. But basically, you try and look for any track that has a very clean, very clear-cut edge. The reason why is that out here is that there's wind and various other things, and as wind blows, it disturbs that edging a little bit, and little particles will blow onto the track itself. So if we look in the mud here, I mean, mud is probably a little bit more tricky because it lasts a bit longer, but you see what I'm talking about on the edge. The edge of this particular track has no sort of particles that have been dislodged, so it's a very, very clear-cut edge all the way around like this. And if you look inside this track, you notice there's none of these particles of soil are actually raised. All of this is depressed. So if you look on to this side of it, you'll see that there's particles of soil that are on top of the kind of runoff of this pan, and it looks like a much more natural kind of thing. This, when you apply pressure, it compresses everything in to that. Also, what happens is when there's wet soil, it lifts a little bit, and so you know that if this is not dry, I mean, this is still damp, that this animal walked while it was still damp. So this was pumped last night, and that's why there's been runoff during the night, so we know that that's also freshness. The other things that you would utilize is that, especially now in this time of the day, is that there's a lot of animals that move around. So during the night, you're going to have genets, hyenas, civets. So you check for any sign of those tracks on top of the leopard track. Let's say if you're tracking a leopard, that will tell you that that animal walked there early evening and that nocturnal creatures have gone over. If none of those are present, then you know that you're already dealing with a track that's much later in the night. Then you'll start to look for things that come out at sunrise, which is francolins, guinea fowl, those kind of things. And if those are on top, then you know that it was just before sunrise. If those are not on top and the leopard track is on top, then you know you're right on the back of that leopard. So that's kind of how you would look around for freshness of tracks. And then also just the more you look at tracks and the more you kind of practice it, the better you start to get at it. I mean, I am fairly proficient in tracking, but nothing like what Herbie is. I mean, Herbie is just on another level altogether, and so, you know, it's always interesting to learn from guys like this and to be able to kind of work it out. But we're going to have to do a lot of kind of investigating. It's a similar cases to what we've had in the last 4 kind of nights, is that we get going and around these pans is just a sort of melee of tracks, and it's chaos to be able to figure out exactly which way everybody's gone and get onto the freshest set. So we're going to try and do that. While we do that, we're going to send you back across to Brent, and I wonder if he's answered his quiz about the longest migration of birds. I would be interested to hear what he said. For me, know the answer, but we'll see what Brent has to say.
Well, no, we haven't given the bird quiz answer yet. We're getting into the area where our Topi friends were yesterday. There were some wildies around as well, so looks like for the first time this year, Dusty Crossing might get some action. Slip slide through here. Nothing happening at Main South. Hello, Ali. Ali says, is it a sandpiper? No, Ali, it is not a sandpiper. Let's have a look. So this is where we left the Topi herd. Well done, Lucy. Indeed, it is an Arctic tern. They migrate 11,000 miles every year. If those terrible Topi crossed while we were in bed, I'll be so sad. Nocturnal crossings do happen, but they are less common. Oof. Rained here last night properly as well. So we're going to see, this is where we left the topi. They are no longer here, so we're going to keep moving. As I say, there's some wildebeest off towards Dusty, or Vumbi, as it is correctly known in Swahili. Vumbi crossing, Dusty crossing. Ah, yeah, there's some wildebeest very close to the river here. It doesn't look like they've got the sort of purpose for crossing yet. As I say, early morning crossings do happen, but they're not as common. Fuzzman Sparkle says, can we do some birding this morning? Indeed, we're going to be hanging around the river for most of the day, so there's always good birds. Yesterday we had that red-cheeked cordon bleu, female purple grenadier, all in this area right here actually. So always a good spot to do birding around the river. Now Vildies, are you going to cross, or are you just enjoying the grass down here? I think it's a bit early to tell. I mean, a very pretty scene nonetheless. The rays of the sun coming through. Yes, the old Arctic tern makes the wildebeest migration look like a sort of a skip across the... What have you seen, Impala? No, he gave me the look like I've seen a lion! He was staring into the thickets. Let's go forward a little bit and just have a quick look, because the Paradise Pride does like to hang about around here. He's staring into those thickets there, and that's a favourite of theirs. Hey, big boy. You were just being cautious. I don't see any lions behind you. There's a black-backed jackal. Oh, female, and she's lactating. There must be a den around here with some small ones. Here comes the male. So, let's keep a lookout for jackal pups in this area. Oh, stunning morning. Chilly but beautiful. Okay, I'm going to head down towards the river now. See what else we can find. Closer to the water's edge. We had great success with jackal pups last year. Okay. Morning, Mark. Mark would like to know how many rhinos in the Mara. Well, in the whole Mara, both sides and the northern Serengeti, they're treated as the sort of the same population. There's about between 35 and 45 rhinos. Black rhinos only, white rhinos never occurred yet. There are the terrible topi who kept us guessing for 5 hours yesterday while we waited for them to cross. Shame, it wasn't their fault. They got disturbed by human beings. That's one of the reasons they didn't cross. And so there's the topi herd we invested many hours of our day in yesterday. Okay. Well, they are heading towards Dusty Crossing. We might have to play the patience game for a bit today. Spend some time waiting at Dusty Crossing. I don't think just yet. I think We've got some time for some loops around. Okay, I'm going to keep checking around here, see if Paradise Pride is around. While I do that, let's send you back to Sydney.
I've just picked up an alarm from the hyenas. They are giving some calls somewhere deep in this area. I'm not too sure if maybe there are some activities taking place there. I just want to try and investigate what's happening. So the hyenas are calling from here. They are quiet now, so I'm just going to check all the way down to all the way down to Sydney's Dams area. Maybe the hyenas are following something. So the call was not coming from very far. Somewhere here. Gosh, most of the game parks in South Africa, they do have fences, but here where I am, the fences has been taken down. It's just a very huge park. This is part of the Kruger National Park. The fences between here and the Kruger National Park has been taken down to give these animals free access roaming. So animals, they can just go anywhere and everywhere. So that hyena is very quiet now, but I'm still going to carry on further and see if we can find something. Calvix, the Unkuhuma Pride, it has been very quiet for the past 2 days. No updates yet. They are still hiding somewhere. So now let's go to Tristan. He's got hyena on foot.
We do indeed. So in there you can just see it moving from left to right. Now there's hyenas calling all around us at the moment, and it looks like this hyena is going to go towards the pan. It might go for a little drink. So what we're going to do is just give it a bit of a kind of head start, and we're going to loop around and try and see if we can maybe, just maybe, get this hyena drinking. So unfortunately it's just disappeared through that thicket, so we're going to just try and walk down the road a little bit, just see if we can get it. Now Herbie and I have discussed tracks. Herbie reckons and the best tracks for us to follow are the tracks that head west from the pan, because if they go back towards Vuyatela pan, well, that's okay, then we know where we're starting, but we need to just make sure that those are not the freshest ones. So we were heading west until we bumped into this hyena, so I want to just see if this hyena will let us see it drinking. It seems to be very, very relaxed with us on foot, which is always quite nice to have. Hyenas are very special creatures, so just want to slowly kind of walk forward here and just see if it pops out. Now unfortunately we're looking straight into the sun. The sun is very harsh this morning. It's not filtered at all for some reason. It's kind of already, the glare is quite difficult to actually see what's going on, and it's going to make tracking quite difficult quite quickly as well, because the sun kind of obliterates the light, well, the shadows on the tracks, and you can really struggle to actually see what's going on. Now I thought this hyena should come out somewhere here. Can you see it? Ah, there it is. So it's crossing onto the other side. So, Anna-Marie, the largest mammal that I've ever seen hyenas hunt is a buffalo, personally. There obviously is other animals that they've taken down. There's reports of them taking down things like hippos and buffalo. But personally, I mean hippos and elephants, but personally for me, a buffalo is the largest that I've seen them. Now it's going off into the drainage line and just wandering off, so not going to the pan itself. But it's very cool to see on foot. Hyenas are amazing animals. I thoroughly enjoy spending time with them. Now, as we're talking about Brent's bird challenge, it's quite interesting with that Arctic tern. He obviously told you how far it travels, but what's interesting with it is that it's the bird that sees the most amount of sunlight in its life. So because of the way that it travels, it's constantly basically travels in sunlight. It very seldom actually sees a sunset, which is quite weird when you think about it, and doesn't really see darkness because of the way it kind of flies from the poles and those areas, that it kind of just follows that light as it goes, which is very, very cool. I think it's a cool thing to see. Now, Herbie's kind of disappeared off down to the east at the moment, so we'll just see where he's off to. Maybe he's trying to see if we can get a better view on this hyena at some point, but I don't think we need to stress too much about the hyena anymore. I think the hyena's going to move quite far away. There was another hyena that was calling from the northeast. So, Michael, you say that was June? Excellent. Always nice to see June. She's got this row of spots that runs along her right side. That's almost like a little line on her. That's how I recognize her. And I thought it might be her, but I wasn't 100% sure. She's also quite light in color, so nice to have. And well, if I remember correctly, Michael, maybe you can correct me on this, but didn't June recently have little ones? Well, we found her with suckle marks, but we never found little ones. I can't remember if it was, but I remember something to do with her. Anyway, right, now, while we carry on, I believe Sydney has something. I didn't copy exactly what, but I think it was another hyena.
I am very lucky now with one of the scavengers. You can see the hyena there. This is the hyena which was calling earlier while I told you that we did pick up a sound. So I'm just going to try and follow this hyena and see where this hyena is going to lead us to. Maybe there are some of the predators in the area here doing some hunting activities. Hyenas are quite beautiful animals, and a lot of people, they don't like them. Some, they call them thieves. Some, they associate them with quite a lot of evil activities. But I can promise you, this is one of the beautiful animals. I don't want to lose him. What I'm going to do now is I am going to carry on and follow him and see if we can find something. So, this animal you have just seen now, the hyenas, they don't smell nice at all. Why? Because of the following reason. The hyenas, they eat rotten meat, and the rotten meat doesn't smell nice, and those are some of the things which makes them smell very bad. Lions and as well as the leopards, they spend much time cleaning themselves, but the hyenas, they don't smell good. And if you go to their den as well, it's worse. So that hyena just got disappeared somewhere down here. He is walking very slow, but they can cover a very long distance at a very short time. Anka, the hyenas are one of the very interesting animals there in Venda. So if you can check, the tail of the hyena has got quite a lot of hairs. If you take those hairs and bend them, or if you can just wave the tail when people are sleeping, I can promise you those people are not going to wake up. It will take much time before they wake up. If you inhale the smoke from the hairs at the tip of the tail at the end, you are going to sleep. And if you shake the tail when people are sleeping, they are also not going to wake up early. And that works. So that hyena got disappeared somewhere here in this area, but at least I can see the direction of the movement. So it means I must have to look around here. Still no tracks. Jacqueline, the hyenas are not one of those animals which can go very fast. In terms of the kilometers per hour, I'm not sure, but I know that hyenas, they don't catch something from high speed. They make an animal tired and then they catch. They can chase an animal for a distance of between 3 to 5 kilometers until the animal gets tired. That is their hunting strategy. So those animals, hyenas, can smell very well. So now let's go to Brent. Brent is lucky with the lions at the moment. So we're going to the Masai Mara.
Well, there are some very flat lions, and there are other vehicles here, and they're quite far from the road in the non-off-roading zone, so I'm not going to stay here too long. It looks like the Paradise Pride. Yesterday we actually saw them on the other side of the river, so it looks like they've crossed over the river overnight. And we can see at least... Oh, there's a big male there. Is it Scar? It's not Scar. There's two big males actually. So not sure if Scar is there. There's that on the left. There's another big male lying flat. You can see there's a young boy in the front. There you go, actually look a little bit peckish. So how we know it is the Paradise Pride is because there are the young boys there. And the Magoros are obviously just 3 females at the moment. It's got an itchy armpit. This is another favorite spot for the Paradise Pride to hang out. And as I say, definitely one of the musketeers. I can't see who it is. Is it Hunter, Morani, Sikyo? Puma is saying, since lions cross the river, how often do they get caught by crocs? Well, not too often, because otherwise we would see less and less of the Paradise Pride and the musketeers. I think they cross in much rockier areas than the wildebeest and zebra. Lots of lions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 6 there. There could be a few more. Now see, there's another big male there lying to the left in the grass, which could be Scar. Oh wait, let's go. It's not. There's another female. Now, where's that other big male disappeared to? Oh, they're pretty. Sorry, can you go again? Someone was talking to me. Orchard Waves are saying, do lions have armpits or four-leg pits? Well, I suppose four-leg pits. There we go. Definitely one of the big musketeer boys. I'm not sure if Scar's there. Okay, well, they disappear into the slightly thicker bush. I think I'm going to move on, see if we can find some lions that are a little bit more out in the open or closer to the road. Proud Cat Mama says, how much stronger is a lion bite than a domestic cat bite? Well, the answer would have to be infinitely. I would not know how hard a domestic cat bite is. A lion, if I remember correctly, is around 400 to 500 pounds of pressure per square inch. I'm guessing a domestic cat's probably around 50 pounds of pressure per square inch. But so I wouldn't even try compare them because they're just so utterly different. Okay, so, well, we know the Paradise Pride's down there. We saw one of those young boys on the other side of the river yesterday. So maybe Scar is still with the Magoro females in this area. Okay. Well, these don't look like they're about to take the plunge into the river. I think we'll come back here a little bit later. And I'm going to go look a bit further to the west to see what's happening there. In the meantime, let's send you back to Tristy.
Well, good luck, Brenty. I'm also going to the west as well at the moment, but it's a different area of the west. And we're just kind of trying to check where Thandi and Tlolamba could have gone. We can't find where the tracks exit the block just yet, which means that she must have come more west than anything else. We've checked along vertical access, which would be the southern side. No sign there, so she must have come in and then just turned and kind of come northwards. We can also, Hosana seems to be following them in there, so I'm hoping if we play our cards right, we might find a track coming out this side that we'll be able to then kind of see where it goes. But we're just trying to kind of circle the block on foot. It takes a little longer than it does when you're in a vehicle. The vehicle's much quicker to be able to kind of get ahead and be able to just loop and check what's going on. And it's the best way to kind of do it, because if you don't find anything coming out here, well, then you know that they must be still somewhere inside. So we'll just try and see if we can find them. I don't see any sign of them coming out, to be honest. Michael, I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't think so, actually. Columbus scat probably in all likelihood has not been collected. I don't know who would have collected it. It's normally us that does it. But no, I certainly haven't. And Brent, who was very good with it, hasn't. I don't think so, to be honest. I would be very surprised if it had. She also, I suppose, we haven't had too many sightings of her actually defecating and then having fresh enough scat to pick it up. It needs to be within, I think, 24 hours is when you need to get it. So I certainly have. I don't think I've ever seen her go to the toilet. Interesting. I haven't ever thought about it, but I don't think so, to be honest. I don't think I've ever seen her utilizing a bathroom facility. Now, I thought that Thandi and Columbus tracks would have come out here, but they haven't. So it means that they must have turned more northwards. Maybe with Hosana on their tail, they decided to go into the block, and that's actually why those alarm calls were coming from that side. So I was just trying to check. You know, these kind of areas, when you get to junctions like this, these are good places to check. Now, Senzo was just pointing at a track for me here, which is not for our leopards, but rather for hyenas, and it could very well be dunes tracks, because we are starting to walk back on the tracks now, and we know that this is a hyena purely from, well, there's many aspects that make it a hyena track. Firstly, the back pad is only the two lobes, so you've got the lobe at the back and the lobe there, so those two lobes are indicative of a hyena track. And then you've got these toes that come down with these kind of banana shapes there, or crescent moon shapes, and definite claws on the front there. You can see that little dot in the sand is a definite claw. And other than that, you can also see that the way that this hyena walks, if you had to put a stick in the line of the track, you'll notice that the feet always point away from the stick, so there'll be a kind of duck-footed pattern that takes place. So it's almost like that. If it was a cat, you would have it on a straight line. They would walk with straight feet. Hyenas are always kind of duck-footed out. So definitely a hyena track, and you find these pretty much all over the roads in the early morning. If you kind of walk anywhere, you're going to find a hyena track at some point. It's amazing how busy these guys can actually be as they go along. And so typical kind of morning walk is lots of hyena tracks, and these days leopard tracks that go in 45 million directions, which makes life a little difficult. The other problem is being in winter, is that we make a track and the track lasts much longer. So you'll find that during the course of the sort of day in summer, generally because of rain and those kind of things, the track disappears quite quickly. In winter, the soft substrate, the track lasts a little bit longer. And so after having a leopard walk here for the last 6 weeks in the form of Hosana, every single day you start to find tracks all over the place, and it makes life a lot harder to actually pick up where he is and which is the freshest. And particularly because his movement is very circular around this camp at the moment, he kind of goes back and forth in the course of a day, and so you find these tracks going in all different directions, and it becomes really tricky to actually try and find exactly where he's gone. And he kind of loops back on himself, and as we know, he doesn't really follow a direction all that well. What would be nice is if he started to lie at the pan again as we started our drive, because it's been a while since we've actually started our drive with him. Now, he is being a bad pan pet. Now we can see here that you've got quite fresh droppings for an antelope that was here, and you can see their footprints that were around as well. Now it looks like for a wildebeest, but this is interesting because wildebeest typically don't defecate these kind of pellets like this as kind of loose as what they are. So it's kind of typical dry season that their pellets are far more sort of defined. In the summer season, a wildebeest dung is all kind of clumped together because the vegetation is far more wet. In the dry season, you get this all kind of clump, but it's very, very fresh. I mean, if I don't want to use my walking stick for this, but if I take this stick and I push on it, you can see it's just going to break. It's still got a glistening sheen to it where it was kind of came out, so it's kind of very poopy on the stick, isn't it? Now, you wouldn't want to throw that at somebody, although it's just grass, so it's not really a main thing. But you can see the tracks that we've got here, over there, and over here, going off into the block. Very typical of wildebeest. So they've been here very recently. They've obviously come off quarantine from last night. Interestingly enough, though, it only looks like just one. It just looks like a male wildebeest by himself. I wonder where the rest are and where they've been. Still no tracks though. I'm surprised because we've come off two big pathways. So here's one of them. The other one is just behind me at the moment. And these would be where I thought Thandi and Tlalamba were going to come out, given where we last had their tracks. But no sign of them. No sign of them crossing Vuyatela access. So could they be right here? Maybe they're still in the block, very, very close to where we are. So we're going to try and kind of see if they are. While we do that, let's send you back across to Sydney.
I have been checking again the Galagopen area and all the western boundaries, but it seems like the tracks got disappeared somewhere here in the middle. So these leopards are somewhere here. So I am back again towards central just to try and see if they're not going to come out somewhere in this area. So maybe they are somewhere high up on this termite mound because it's very cold this morning. Well, but the genets on safari, I haven't seen any here in Juma, but yes, before I have seen genets. And genets, they don't fall under a group of cats. So the genets are at their own. We have got the spotted genet, large spotted genet, and the small spotted genet. I've seen them all. And genets are some of the animals, when you come to where I come from, those kind of animals, we still see them today as well, at night and sometimes during the day. Maybe we're gonna find some tracks now here. So, but I'm still also checking on top of our tracks just to see if these animals are not walking around here now. Because sometimes you can come, drive past, and after that they come and walk right on top of our tracks. Unfortunately, we don't have the domestic cats at the camp. Here, everything is wild. I haven't seen any of the domesticated animals in Juma Game Reserve. So, which is a good thing, because most of the domestic animals, they do carry quite a lot of diseases. So they can easily transmit diseases to the wild animals here. So now I'm going to check the northern side, because I have checked. Richard, the caracals are one of the very much aggressive and shy cats. I haven't seen the caracal for quite a long time. So those ones are not easy to see. So the caracals, they can be very aggressive. I've been charged by a caracal before, I know. So I was on a guided walk and accidentally I heard some birds making quite a lot of noise. And I wanted to check what the birds were complaining for. When I got there, the caracal was hiding. And then these birds showed me where he was. Then I saw the caracal, and this caracal charged us, but suddenly decided to run away. It's quite a very lovely cat with the beautiful ears. Still no tracks of Tandy yet on this road. So now let's go to Brent, who found more lions in Mara.
Well, we have a lazy scar. There he is. You can just see his back, but that is a scar. And he's got some lady friends with him, the Magoro ladies. We thought he might be hanging around with some of the Magoro girls. They are some of his favorites. Hi, Joshua. Joshua says, what animals prefer fresh meat over rotten meat? Well, I'd say most animals will eat rotten meat. Only really wild dogs and cheetah don't feed off rotten meat at all. But lions, hyenas, leopards, don't mind at all. Oh, lazy kitties. Now, I wonder if they managed to catch anything last night, because they were looking quite hungry. And it looks to be a reasonable belly. No, it's not a belly, that's a chest, Brent. So, it doesn't look like they might have eaten something last night. There was quite a lot of stuff around, but they could have been preoccupied with mating. They don't look too full, and you can see you don't have that heavy breathing that comes with massive bellies. Mka is wondering what was the white flower in the background. That one there is an Ipomea, a morning glory, a type of morning glory. There are many different morning glory species. This one is the one that's most common in the Mara. You don't see it too often apart from this area around the river, and they grow in bushes, so quite different to the morning glories that we get in South Africa, well, the ones in the Sabi Sands at least. And you can see there's a nice bush over there, Manu. Lara Moore is being quite funny and saying, I call that picture a flower and a dandelion. Well, Scar is a bit of a dandy. He's quite old at the moment, so he doesn't get up to too much nonsense apart from chasing ladies about. And he is obviously carrying quite a few injuries. Well, at least we know where there's two different sets of lions so far this morning. Michael was wondering, is his name Scarface or just Scar? His full name is Scarface, but most people who hang around in the Mara just call him Scar. Lazy. Too lazy to use his whole name. Scarface. And he's referred to as both. Now, there could be another male about that we can't see from here. Sorry? Cheers, good luck. Where are you going to head? South? Okay. Well, good luck. Cheers. They're just saying goodbye to the guys from the Mara Predator Project who've been across here doing their lion census, or their big cat census for the year, for the Mara Triangle side, and they're heading back to the National Reserve side today. Flat kitties. Now, Lauren is asking, do all male lions have their favorite prides that they like to be around? Generally, their favorite pride tends to be the one with the most females in estrus, and that will attract the males. And for example, as far as I'm aware, the musketeers, which Scar is part of, they dominate over the Mogoros, the Paradise, and I think possibly a pride down south that we don't go to too often, below Serena. But so they will often have multiple prides, and of course for male lions the most important thing apart from eating is spreading their genetic line. So that's what they will be busy doing. So they'll mate with as many different females and from as many different prides as possible, and that is how they are programmed. Oh, listen to the frogs, still going nuts. It's actually getting colder this morning as the morning goes on. Oh, what's that in the in the bushes there, Manu. Let's have a look there. Ah, one of the vulture species we don't see as often, being quite small. They're bullied off carcasses by the rupels, white-backed and lappet-faced, but there is a hooded vulture. Not as common in the Mara as they are in the Sabi Sands. You can see a very, very delicate beak compared to the bigger vulture species. I think we're going to let sleeping lions lie and move on to see what else we can find. Oh, there we go. Manu has found us a white-backed vulture. Well done, Manu. But in the meantime, let's go back to Tristan, who's hot on the trails of Tandi and Tlalamba.
We are indeed. So we finally found their tracks on the road. They go south over quarantine is why we missed them completely. We didn't check that far. They walked right past the tent, all three of them, but there's only Tandi and Tlalamba now going south. It looks like Hosana maybe turned a little bit more west, but essentially these tracks here are apparently, Herbie and I were just discussing now, because it's getting hard to tell the difference between Tandi and Tlalamba as to which one is which. So these apparently Herbie reckons are Tlalamba, and the reason why he says that, and it's quite true of cubs, is that cubs' feet are quite big, and they have a very awkward kind of gait on them at this age. And what happens with their toes is their toes splay out quite a bit with all the fluffy fur and all kinds of pressure that they put on as they bound around all over the place. And so you can see these toes, there's quite a big ridge of sand between each toe, and so they tend to splay a lot more than what Tandi's track does, which is over here. So Tandi has walked on this side, and you can see that the size difference now is almost non-existent. So you can no longer rely on size for these guys. Their tracks look exactly the same in terms of a size point of view. Front foot, back foot, very much smaller than what you see on a male leopard. But they were walking here and they were just ambling along. They're not walking fast in this area. They were just having a good time as mother and daughter side by side as they moved. So these look like the freshest tracks we've seen so far. So we're going to definitely follow them. Hopefully we'll be able to find where these two kitties went, and that we'll actually pick them up somewhere here. But encouraging signs, should I say, that we've been able to actually pick up their tracks, and they just head straight down quarantine, basically. So if someone had driven here this morning, I think they might have found her just walking down the road with little Tlalamba, which would have been a lot easier than all the walking we've kind of done in circles trying to figure it out. But that's the way tracking goes. You have to end up doing those kind of things, otherwise you're basically just going to try and follow any track. You're not going to have any semblance of order as to what you're doing. So Herbie reckons these are the best ones, and so we're going to follow them and see where they go. They've kind of gone onto the clearing now. I wonder if they didn't go up towards this termite mound that's coming up on the left. It would have been absolutely beautiful to have seen the two of them on this termite mound that's here, because they must have been closing very, very pretty on top there. Now the tracks are back on the road, so still heading straight southwards. It's always easy. If you see Herbie in front of you, then you know. Naturally, depends who you are. Brentley Smith, no, he doesn't. For some reason, he repels ticks. I don't know if that's because he was born as Mowgli from the Jungle Book and ended up becoming one with the tick, and therefore they don't see him as a food source. No, I don't know. He doesn't get them. I get absolutely hammered by ticks out here. I have war wounds all over my legs from ticks. In fact, I think I've even got some from the other day when we were walking. Now, I don't have my funky socks on this morning. Maybe that's why we're not finding them, but there we go. There's a war wound, a couple of them from ticks that I've got from walking around in the last few weeks, and it happens quite regularly with them. I'm very bad as well because I scratch them. You're not supposed to, but I can't help it. It's too itchy not to, so I just do. Anyway. So yeah, I get him. Steph also gets absolutely lambasted by ticks. He hates them. It's just one of those things, though, you know, living out here and walking out here. Part and parcel. Now in winter, not so bad. You'll get hit by one or two every now and then. In summer, it's a pain. You have to kind of spray yourself with insect repellent or carry guarri bushes around so you can beat your legs every 5 minutes to get rid of all these tiny little pepper ticks that we get out here. So a little bit of a pain, the ticks. I'm not a huge fan of them. So the tracks are still going straight down the road. I can just see them where I'm walking at the moment. So hopefully we'll pick up where they've gone. I probably think they've maybe gone southwards towards Philemon's. That's where I'm guessing we're going to end up, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And so while we carry on with these and see if we can help Sydney out, he's still looking for leopards on his side too.
I have not yet located the tracks for Tandi and Tlalamba at the moment here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down Galagopan shortcut, that area there towards Quarantine, and see if maybe I can pick up fresh tracks. So the only tracks I'm seeing here is quite a lot of elephant tracks. Elephant has been here, so maybe we're going to be lucky with the elephants before we get to Quarantine. Polecat Mama, in Africa I am not too sure, but coming to South Africa, some of the common trees, famous trees, are the marula trees. Oh, here comes the elephants. We just found the elephants. I'm just going to try and position myself nicely for a good sighting. So it means the tracks I have seen, too much tracks I have seen, it was for these elephants. You can see that these elephants, they are very much relaxed. So I'm just going to try and find my way to these elephants around. It's quite a small head. A beautiful elephant sighting with the silhouette. You can see that they are trying to feed. The bush looks very much dry, but these elephants, they are feeding here. They know how to get hold of the nutrients. They are very much water dependent. Now, after feeding here, they might head towards one of the nearest water holes. So the direction of movement is showing that they are coming towards this side. I can see that there is a vehicle there also on the sighting. So this is the largest land mammal, which can weigh up to 5,000 kilograms, about 5 tons. That is too heavy. So the females can weigh 3.5 tons. The little one can weigh 120 kilograms after birth. That is too heavy. I'm standing by, sand. Okay, copy that. I'll come back to you. I'm just now on the elephant sighting. So these animals, for them to feed, they must have to get at least 400 kilograms a day. That is quite a lot of food, and they must drink 150 to 200 liters of water a day. Look at that. That is very true. Here where we are today is looking very bright. It seems like the sun is going to be very hot today. That's quite a big elephant. So it seems like these elephants are just enjoying the sun at the moment. So normally elephants, they don't like eat during the sunrise and sunset. During the sunrise, they avoid it. You will see them feeding, focusing the western side or the southern side. And during the sunset, they also avoid the sunset and look towards the eastern side or the western side. So the elephants can hear very, very well. So you can see they've got very big ears. So one vehicle rev to the elephant is like a lot of vehicles at the same time. So that's why elephants get very aggressive when people are revving vehicles and hooting vehicles, because it does irritate them deep in the ears. So the elephants got to defecate after every 45 minutes. That is why they don't digest everything completely. So every 45 minutes it is... Richard, the elephants, they are water dependent. They've got to drink water every day, and they normally drink twice a day. They come in the morning and again late afternoon. Elephant's diet is consisted of grass, and is also consisted of the bark and the leaves. So those kind of barks and leaves, they need quite a lot of water for digestion, because those are very hard material. Now look at that, this is beautiful. So some of these elephants are left-handed, and some of them, they are right-handed. So if you look at the tusk, the thinner tusk tells you that this elephant is using it the most. And if the right tusk is much thinner, it means that elephant is right-handed. And the left tusk, if it's thinner, it means it's using it the most. So the elephants got to do that because they have got a simple stomach. The elephants are hind-gut fermenters. So the hind-gut fermenters, digestive system on them, it starts from the mouth. So they must every time try by all means to open the space, because they are eating too much food. So they try and open the space too much every 45 minutes from the body. You look there now, it seems like that one's going to leave the droppings if not irritated, because normally before they defecate, they raise the tail, and when irritated again, they can show you from the tail. So the elephant is very much difficult to tell when it's sick, but the behavior is going to tell you, because when the elephants are sick, when they are injured, look at the little one running. When the elephant is sick, when the elephant is injured, they get very much aggressive, and that is when you can pick it up that there is something wrong with these elephants. So it's very much difficult to tell when they are very sick. So now I'm just going to try and reverse so that we can have a good sighting. They are very stationary behind me. The elephants, they avoid to face the sun because their eyes are very much sensitive to the light. So that is why elephants, if you shine a spotlight or if you shine a flashlight, they get very aggressive because the elephant's eye is built like ours. They are lacking of something which is called a tapetum lucidum. This is like a bright carpet at the back of the pupil. It's a thick reflective membrane. Because of not having that, they get very aggressive when you shine a spotlight. That's why they've got to every time avoid the sun. You can see now that the sun is very much bright, so they are avoiding looking at the eastern direction. This is beautiful. So the elephant's body smells like... The elephants, they don't chew bones, so they get all the nutrients from the vegetation. So I've never seen the elephant eating bones. You can see the little one is drinking here. The little one is having some milk. So it means the mother now is lactating. So elephants, if one of the mother dies when having the little ones, the little one can just have milk from any of the mothers who are on lactation period. So these animals are very much big and they give birth while they're standing. The little one has to hit the ground as a wake-up call in order to kickstart their life. So it's like some of the tribes, when the little ones are born, they hit them, they club them so that they can cry in order to kickstart breathing. So that is how they also communicate below their and I know the elephants can travel long distances, but that is determined by the food availability and the availability of the little ones in the families. The parade of elephant or the head of elephants, when they are small ones, that make them to feed very close to the water holes. But when the little ones are old enough is when they can travel long distances. So the elephants, they do travel long distances in a very short space. Not too sure in terms of the kilometers, but they can cover long distances. It's like now during the dry season when food is not available and when some of the non-perennial water holes are becoming dry, they must have to walk long distances in search of water. So now let's go back to Brent in Mara, who is also looking for more animals this morning.
So we've decided to take a gamble. We've left the river down around the main crossings. Lots of flat lions, but doesn't look like too much else happening there. So we've decided to go adventure to the south onto the burns, see if we can find some spotty cats, as well as the wildebeest. And we might then make a loop down towards Puringat and see if there are any wildebeest around the river down south. So we'll see what is happening. Now, while we are maneuvering down the main road, I've got some more quizzes for you. Now, we started off with quite a difficult one, the Hirola antelope. But now, let's see, what are we going to do next? I think we're going to go back to mammals after the birds. And, let's think. Now, I don't want to make it too easy. I know, let's go completely random. What? It's a sort of double barrel question. What country and where is the only place in the world you'll find a freshwater seal? Hashtag SafariLive if you know the answer. What country and where, particularly in that country, will you find a freshwater seal? That's a good one. Okay, well, you can see a bit of a lack of wildebeest in this area. And lots of lines of where they've been walking, so maybe we'll find them shortly. In the meantime, let's send you back to Sydney with the Ellies even closer than before.
Yeah, the elephants are now here, and I can see there's quite a lot of birds coming. I've seen some fork-tailed drongos as well. They are here in order to pick up the insects when these elephants are feeding. But there's not much insects. These elephants, I have seen them here feeding and rubbing against trees and walking over the grasses, but nothing is coming out. Maybe they are insects I cannot see these birds are looking for. Aragon Way, at this stage, the mosquitoes are still, some are still hiding. Last night, I saw some of the few mosquitoes as well coming into my room. It's showing that the mosquitoes are excited now from the sun. But after the first rains is when we will get quite a lot of mosquitoes. This is beautiful with the reflection of the sun on the side of the body of the little ones. Look at the big one is chasing the small one. Not too sure what is the problem. That was a serious charge. So the elephants, the females are not responsible in order to teach the little ones how to behave. The big ones, normally they walk at the back of the herd. Sometimes they isolate themselves and go long distances away from these kind of groups. But when there are problems, when the teenagers are not behaving in the families, the big ones has to be called to come and take them through a disciplinary course. They must have to take them, isolate them for a while, and give them manners. Coming back to the herd, you will see them behaving. Richard, the stomach of the elephant is very much big, and these animals, if you can check, their intestines are long up to 18 meters. That is too long. A heart it can weigh up to 27 kilograms. That is very much big. So I can see that these elephants, they are far, but their direction is heading towards Galagopan. So it means that is where they will be drinking, maybe running about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, because that is when elephants prefer to go for drinking in the morning. So after these elephants, I'm still going to carry on and see if I can find Thandi and Kalamba. Look at those hairs there at the tip of the tail. There's quite a very long, thick hairs there. So these hairs helps them in order to chase away the flies. It's very much thick and very much strong. Now you can see it's nice and clear. So this tail is the one you can use as the ref counter of the stress. When the tail is going up, you must know that it's not in a good mood. When the tail is cooled, then it means it's worse. It's not happy at all. But when it's down like this, it means it is 100% comfortable. So you can use it as a ref stress counter. So now let's go back to the bushwalk and hear what's happening.
Well, Sydney, we're still trying to decode exactly what's going on, because we've got tracks again on Rebecca's, but they don't match the tracks that we were on just now. The tracks we were on are heading straight towards Rebecca's, but the freshness of them seems different. It seems like there's older ones for Thandi in that area, so I want to just cut back into this drainage section that runs off Quarantine and just see if we can find them. But the tracks that we had were definitely nice, fresh tracks coming this side with Kalamba. So, you know, the tracks we picked up were just for Thandi by herself on Rebecca's. And I don't think that she would have left Kalamba and then moved there with, and like I say, the freshness just doesn't look right. Even Herbie agrees that they seem to be a little bit on the older side. So what I'm trying to do is just check. Thandi often uses this area. She used it a lot when she had Kalamba, for just before Hikikomori arrived. This was her kind of haunt. She used to hang around here. Kalamba used to be left here a lot, and so it's a good place just to check for them and just to see if there's any sign of tracks. And so what we're basically doing is just kind of scouting all of these little game paths that are around just to try and see. But there's definitely was very nice fresh tracks that came this way. They're from this morning, so we just need to pick up those again and find out exactly where she walked. Now, normally when she comes in here, she'll either use this path that runs from left to right and kind of goes through, and hold on, is that maybe? Just want to see if it was her track. No, it's not there. So either that track, or there's another track just on this northern side here that we're going to try and have a little quick look at as well. But she's moving around quite a bit in the last few days. I mean, if you think that she went from Buffelshoek Dam to the pan in front of the camp, back to you know, wherever she went, down to the south by the looks of things where she was seen, and then back up to the pan again, and now back down this way. So moving quite a lot. So you can hear the go-away bird and the Franklin. Maybe, just maybe, we are on their trail again. So these are the tracks that I was saying, is these another game path that she uses quite regularly as well. You can hear the grey go-away bird shouting. Now that could also be because of us. Go-away birds do shout at people when they walk around, so it could very well be that that's, but the Franklin calling is much further away from where we are. So we'll just try and see. Franklin's gone quiet, so that doesn't bode well. Generally when Franklins see a leopard, they're quite vocal for quite some time. Ophelia, I'm sure there is. I don't know which one it is. Sydney will know better if there's a tick plant that you can use. I just know that you use guaris to whack them off, and that feels satisfying when you beat them. Which I know sounds horrible, but it's true. I'm pretty sure that there is things that will stop ticks from biting you, or at least be more comfortable once they have bitten you. Just trying to think of those kind of plants that you can use, but I mean, I don't know that kind of I've never been given one, put it that way. So even all the time that I've been out here with all the trackers that I've worked with, none of them have ever given me something to be like, this will stop the ticks biting you, or this will kind of ease the itch. So maybe they're not in this area, but Sydney's very good with the Venda side of things, and maybe in Venda they have a plant that they use for tick bites. I'll ask Herbie now as well if he knows of any, but we'll just have to catch up with him because Herbie's racing off because of the Franklins that are alarm calling. Right, now while I do that, let's send you back across to Sydney and see if he's got any answers about tick remedies.
The ticks, those kind of problems with the ticks, you're gonna have to use the trees such as the sickle bushes. So the sickle bush is the best tree in order to deal with these kind of problems. Any kind of insect sting as well, you go for the sickle bush, is going to help you, and it works very nicely. So the sickle bush is one of the very much important tree because it doesn't have a specific purpose. It can serve on quite a lot of various diseases. And apart from diseases, it can also help when it comes to the other things. You know, the sickle bush, if you take the roots and boil the roots and drink, that water is going to help you. It serves as an aphrodisiac as well. And when I grew up, this is what has been happening. We used to be inspected. So the grannies, they used to check if we are going to be sexually active when we grow up. So they used to inspect us. And if there is something wrong, they go and look for the sickle bush. And then that is how they are going to make us, feel when they touch every time. So what they used to do is that they come and then they just touch you a little bit and then they see the reaction. And if there's no reaction, they can be able to predict that you are going to have a problem. When growing up, you are not going to work, and then they must have to fix it. There's some tracks here. I just want to reverse and check. Safari Sally, there is quite a lot of different poisonous plants. Yes, the famous plant is the tamboti tree, the one where if you dry, you experience problems. Now, I'm going to give you another one. There is this bulb trees, the bulb plants, not trees. So if you can check, those bulbs are very much poisonous, and at the same time they are medicinal. And when it comes to the circumcision, in order to heal the circumcision, we take the skin from those kind of bulbs and then we just stick them there in order to heal very quickly. But also, if you have got problems in the stomach, we use the very same plants in order to solve that. But if you overdose them, that is when it's going to be very much detrimental and you might even lose your life because they are very much poisonous. But they work. You only have to use them nicely and not too much. So I'm just going to go towards the eastern part and see. Maybe we might be lucky with one of these cats. So all I'm seeing here is the tracks. I can see there's even tracks for some of the wild dogs. They were here. We do have to close the doors but during the day we don't at all. And then the windows, we do open them all the time. So, but the mosquitoes come in, but we used to, because here I haven't experienced any problems with the mosquitoes. So there are some of the plants like the fever tea. The fever teas are some of the plants that we can use in order to chase away the mosquitoes. The biggest problem when opening the doors and windows is the monkeys, because the monkeys, they learn very quickly and they always want to see what is in the house. And if they see anything like a fruit, they come in. And the problem is if you corner them, the monkeys inside trying to take them out, when they're under stress, they just defecate anywhere and everywhere. So now let's go back to Brent. Brent maybe is having something interesting in Mara at the moment. I'll be looking for Tandy and Kalamba again.
Okay, so we are still on our way south onto the burnt areas, and this is the area where Kipuli and the Sausage Tree Boys have been hanging out. But I think we're going to look for cheetah first while it's still nice and cool. Head right down to the Tanzanian border, see what's happening there. Maybe we will even find that leucistic zebra we saw a few days ago. Still lots of wildies to the south, spread out over the hills on the bright green grass of the burn. Lauren says, is there, to the quiz answer, sorry, Finland and Somal? No, it is not Finland. I'm going to wait maybe a few more answers and then I'll give a clue. No need to give any clues because Sharon Smith's got it correct. It is Lake Baikal in Russia. Now, that is also the world's deepest freshwater lake or freshwater body. I can't remember exactly how deep it is, but it is very deep. And the second deepest lake in the world is, of course, in Africa, and that is Lake Tanganyika. Now, Lake Tanganyika is an incredible place. It's that way, and a couple of 100 kilometers. Maybe actually even 1,000 kilometers from here. No, maybe not that far, a couple of 100 kilometers. And it has one of the most diverse cichlid species in the world. Now, a cichlid is a type of fish, very pretty little fish, tilapia or cichlids, but very big ones. And they are incredible, and the diversity in that lake is amazing. There's also Goliath tiger fish in the south, and Nile perch. Now, the biggest cichlid species in Lake Tanganyika is called Ninkupi, and they are very, very tasty. Okay. So it seems to be most of the wildebeest are now down to the south properly. So we're going to shoot down past the Salt Lake, get onto the border. Maybe those two cheetah boys are around. Speaking, well, apparently everyone's having fun with the Sunday quiz day, so let's think of another one. What is the deepest river in Africa? What is the deepest river in Africa? Hashtag SafariLive if you know the answer. Always check carefully around here for those lions. Hi Carol. Carol's asking, are there any lions in the Mara that are collared? Not that I am presently aware of, Carol. I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't seen any collared lions. And we've driven a lot of the Mara, both sides of the river. So not that I'm aware of. Bumpety, bumpety, bumpety. All these little streams have started flowing again. Just gives you an idea about how much water is actually about. Oh, 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 bumpeties. It seems to be just getting colder and colder as the morning goes on. Oh. And these little streams we're crossing at the moment stopped flowing for quite some time. Ah, Puma and Wisteria, you're right on it. It is indeed the Congo River. Now, the reason I thought about it is because I'd been talking about cichlids. Now, the Congo River is so deep and the volume of water that rushes down it is so powerful that certain cichlid or fish species have speciated due to rapids, but even more interestingly, you have a little cichlid that comes from a single species originally, and because of the power of the water and the depth of the Congo River, you have new species that are forming and are currently still forming, and they have been formed on either bank of the river. So isn't that absolutely amazing? Someone earlier this morning was asking for eland, so there we go. It's a little group of eland. They are wonderfully large animals. Now, eland are absolutely fascinating when it comes to their evolution alongside human beings. So all different animals have a sort of distance that they would consider safe. So from different predators, so from lions, from hyenas, from cheetah, and even from human beings. And most antelope species don't feel very threatened by people, that they don't have to run far, and that's of course in areas where they don't have lead thrown at them regularly. And the reason for this is human beings aren't very fast. We have to sort of use our brains to catch things. Now, the one animal that human beings are capable of running down is an eland. So with their massive bulk, they are unable to run particularly fast for particularly long. So eland have evolved probably the biggest distance that they consider safe from human beings. So if they encounter people on foot, they will run sometime, or normally up to about 500 meters before stopping to look again, which is completely different from all the other antelope species. And that is due to the fact that human beings are able to run down an eland. You can just keep running and running and running till the eland gets tired. You've of course got to be very fit. So maybe James Henry would be able to run down an eland. Myself and Tristan probably not. At least I can beat James in a 100-meter sprint, and that's what counts. But yeah, so very interesting how different animal species have evolved, different reactions to human beings, and a lot of that is based off how human beings hunted in the past. You must remember that a lot of the responses to human beings, or even to vehicles, are instinctive. So the bipedal upright figure of man has been the dominant diurnal predator on the African savannas for probably about 500,000 years. Now, the reason we can get so close to animals in a car is a car has only been around for just over 100 years, and even then being used on safari extensively for only about 50 or 60 years. So they do not have an instinctive response to the vehicle. So it isn't something that is ingrained for 500,000 years that you must be scared of or you mustn't be scared of. What's that there, Manu? You see what I'm looking at the base of the forest there? What is that? Is that just a funny clump of grass? No, it's a bush that got burnt. And the lapwings were laughing at me. You probably heard them. There you go, some wattled lapwings were cackling because I looked at a burnt bush and thought it might be something of a big cat. You see them there in the wet here, the little wattled lapwings. Well, Tina's asking, are eland about the size of an American elk? I'm not quite sure how big an elk is, but I think they are bigger. They'll probably be closer to a moose. A big male eland will weigh around 950 kilograms. So what is that? 250 kilograms should be 1,000 pounds. So yeah, just over 2,000 pounds, more or less, for a big male eland. I'm not sure how much an elk weighs. Female eland around 400 kilos, quite easily 450 kilos, so around 1,000 pounds. So I would guess if you had to compare it to a North American animal, I think the moose is probably size-wise comparable. Now, they are heavier than buffalo, big male elands. Now you have another species of eland called the giant eland or the Lord Derby's eland that will actually go over 1,000 kilograms. Not often, but they do weigh over 1,000 kilograms. So absolutely massive animals. And their scientific name is quite... Oh, hang on. Someone's flashing at me. Mambo! Hi, guys!
Mambo.
Anything down this side? Good? Good?
Yeah, some lions.
At the Salt Lake?
Yes.
All right. At the river, there's Scar and all of them almost the same place as yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, up on the Murrum. Good luck, guys. Bye! So these are friends we met yesterday while we were hanging about the river. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Manu, what was I talking nonsense about? Scientific name of the eland, yes. So it's called the Toro tragus oryx. Toro, bull, Taurus. Tragus, goat, because of the fluff that's in the middle of its face, and this, particularly in the males. And oryx referring to those rapier-like horns. So the bull goat-faced sword antelope. Now there was a question about sorry, I got distracted there. Who exactly it was from? About why we didn't domesticate them. I think it was from R. Lara Moore. I might be mistaken. Why? What if we? Yes, it was, yeah. Why? Now, the thing is, like zebra, you'll find that eland, even though they're so big and heavy, they haven't been bred to carry weight or loads like oxen. And now, through selective breeding practices, human beings have basically designed oxen to be able to carry a weight. And you would also find that the elands would probably struggle. Their stamina would not hold carrying or pulling a load, but also, unlike oxen, they are able to jump. They can actually jump vertically 2 meters. Now imagine trying to keep something under control that can leap like that while carrying all your stuff. Probably not a good idea. And of course, those long straight horns are very dangerous. They will impale you. So apparently there might be some lions up ahead. I wonder who. So those 4 Salt Lake males we've seen very little of this year. They seem to have been spending most of their time down south, and Kipuli and the little sausage boys have been taking over down here. Cobalt is wondering what is the fastest antelope in the world. I'm not sure about the world, because I think there might be a North American... No, but that's Yes. No, that's a deer. It's not an antelope. So I might be right. If I remember correctly, well, the fastest antelope in Africa is the Sesame or Topi. They are incredibly quick. But in the world, I would probably guess, I'm not 100% sure, that it is a Sesame or Topi as well. Now, I know white-tail, is it pronghorned? I don't know if a deer or pronghorned in North America are also very quick, pronghorns, but I don't know if they are they a deer or an antelope? I think they're a deer. It could be an antelope. I'm not 100% sure. But the fastest in Africa is Sesame or Topi. But I think the pronghorn might be the fastest of the lot. Now, having a look for lions around here. Oh, maybe they... No, there we go. Google says pronghorn. Thank you, Emma. But is a pronghorn is an antelope. It's not a deer. So there we go. Pronghorn antelope, fastest in the world. Fastest in Africa, Topi or Sesame. Any ryons down here? I'm not seeing any ryons just yet. Maybe up ahead. Okay, I'm going to keep missioning and moving and looking for some cats. As I say, I'm hoping for cheetah, but I wouldn't say no to a lion. Let's send you back to Sydney with some antelope having a drink.
I have got the food for the leopards there. Look at the impalas there now drinking here by the treehouse dam. So they prefer to come for drinking in the mornings like this. So a herd of impala like this, mostly this is controlled by the dominant male. So the dominant male is the one who is responsible of safety for all these females that are here. Young males and some of the males tend to form their own herd. So these males, they breed during the May month. That is during the rutting season, where you will find them chasing each other, making noises such as that is to rat, is where this ratting is coming from, and it can travel a long distance. That kind of behavior is punctuated by chasing each other and lifting up the tails, and the testosterone hormone on these males is twice higher than the males from the bachelor herd. So these males are very much strong with all the energy of running and making that noise and mating all these females. Oh, wildebeest are also coming there. I can see slowly approaching in between the impalas. So this is what is called a safety in numbers. When there is quite a lot of animals like this, sometimes it gets very difficult for a predator to single one out. So the wildebeest are very popular of having a very poor eyesight. Always keep relying on the other animals for eyesight. But they are also good when it comes to the sense of smell. They can be able to smell very well. So here where I am is where Thandi and Kalamba is my favorite antelope. It is the impala. The impalas are very beautiful. Look at this animal. I think impala is much more beautiful than a lot of animals. I'm not saying the wildebeest is not beautiful, because how the wildebeest looks is how it's built. But the impalas, the different colors and the metatarsus gland at the bottom of the back legs like socks, and the big round pupil eye, this is beautiful. Look at the reflection of the impalas drinking there. They are lucky that there are no crocodiles here by the tree house dam. Yeah, this is beautiful. Look, the wildebeest and impalas all at the same time. Another wildebeest coming there. So you can see that the herbivores, they can share the same territory. Wildebeest and impalas, sometimes they even mark and demarcate at the same spot. That is not an issue because it has got nothing to do with grazing. It's just about mating and breeding. So impalas and this wildebeest, they will never mate. So that's why the male impalas feel comfortable having the wildebeest male nearby. Jason, the crocodiles, we do have them in some of the water holes here, but this is one of the small water holes. You can see that the water is not too much. Herbert, send your message. No luck, no sign. I'm here by the tree house dam at the moment, just having wildebeest and impalas feed drinking. So that was Herbert. Is looking for some updates if there is any fresh evidence of the presence of Kalamba and Thandi in the area. He is not very far from where I am, so we are helping each other in order to get hold of these two beautiful cats. Richard, that is very true. The herbivores at this stage, you can see they are feeding on dry grass. They are praying for the rain. The rain must come so that the grass can get excited and bring more nutrients. They are looking for green grass. But when the green grass comes, some of these animals, they experience running stomach because of the nutritious grass. And that you will see the most on animals such as wildebeest. So I'm going to leave here and carry on trekking and see if we can find something. But while I'm doing that, let's go to the bushwalk and see the update they have got at the moment.
Well, the update is that Thandi and Kalamba are walking their hearts out. We've now gone from Gallagher Pan, we're approaching Treehouse Dam now. So we've walked far, going back and forth trying to find them as we've gone. It's been a little bit difficult because it's just so many different tracks, and you've got to kind of sit and look at each different track on its merit and kind of try and work out its freshness. She was here yesterday as well in this similar sort of area, and so Herbie reckons that she's just seeing us and moving every time before we're seeing her. And I suppose it's very, very possible. Given how fresh the tracks were on quarantine, I didn't think she would have come this far. Also, I'm very surprised that she's brought Kalamba down this end. This is probably the furthest I've seen little Kalamba go in quite some time. So I'm intrigued as to why she's doing this. Now, yesterday evening, some of you may have seen an update, but not all of you. There was a male leopard that was seen on our southern boundary. So at Twin Dams, there was a male leopard seen, and he was that same unknown skittish male that has been seen there a few times. He's kind of looks a little like quarantine, kind of Kunyuma-ish. He's been confused for Kunyuma a few times, but he was seen again last night, and I asked the guys, how was he? And they said to me, he was absolutely fine. There was 3 vehicles in the sighting and he didn't run. So it seems like he's starting to calm down, and he's obviously around a lot more than we think. Now, I'm pretty sure he's the one that we got on the drone that first time we put the drone up in the sky. I'm pretty sure that he was the individual that Steve and James found that day. But it's interesting that yesterday there was so much kind of leopard focus down in that area Yet, you know, there was no sign. Well, I mean, no one picked up the male, but there's a track for what looks like a male, maybe Tingana, that will move through here at some point. But it's not very afraid of that track. So this is the problem: is you walk through these places and you just pick up track after track after track, and it makes it quite difficult to actually know what's going on. It's also starting to get quite warm, so I expected that these leopards would have been lying down by now and resting, but maybe if they're seeing us, that's why they just keep kind of moving and keep pushing or further away from us. Chris, yes, most definitely. So in the Masai Mara a lot more during this migration period, and even if you go down to the Serengeti in a place called Ndutu, or the Southern Plains, where the wildebeest go and calf, there you'll find the leopards really do hammer those little wildebeest calves. They go after them quite regularly. A big fully grown wildebeest, very, very, very seldom. It's a big animal and very, very strong. Maybe a female, but a big bull, you've got very little chance as a leopard of pulling that down. Tingana used to target them when they're as much as a year old. He used to see him hitting those every now and then, and the two biggest I saw him have were just over a year old. Now, I just want to see, we've got some dung here that it's fairly fresh. It's from last night, but maybe we can ask all of you what you think, who this belongs to. I'll try and open it out for you so you can have a little look at it. There we go. There's already a very clear indication as to which animal this is already, just from the coloration that you're seeing there. You can also see that there's quite a bit of kind of barky material in that area, so you can take a guess as to what it is. Doesn't look like any insects inside there, so you guys should be able to get it just from the color more than anything else as to what this particular dung is. It's quite a nice one to actually go. So we'll carry on while you guys think about it and decide what it is. Now, no. So it is impossible to tell the age of an animal by a track, other than if you know the track of the animal that you're following. So hypothetically, we know Tundi and Tlalamba, then we know the ages. But just randomly, you drop somebody in a random area that they don't know and ask them, identify this track and how old is this animal? Impossible, really. I mean, you can obviously judge whether it's an adult or whether it's a baby or kind of a rough age in terms of that growing up phase. But once it becomes an adult, it is, I would defy many people to try and age an animal accurately via their spur that they leave behind or their track. It would be very, very difficult. Oh, Carol, straight off the bat, well done. So it is a porcupine dropping, and the reason we know it is, like I said, the coloration is the easiest part of that, is that they eat a lot of bark, which is what I said was in the dung, and so bark is rich in tannins, and tannins is that reddish coloration, and so that's why you see their dung takes on a much more red coloration when they've been feeding off particularly tamburtis. So tamburtis are high in tannins, and porcupines love tamburtis, and they'll go and gnaw at the base of the tamburti and get all of that fibrous bark, and then their dung goes that reddish color. It's quite cool actually to see, much more red than anything else. And even though the size is quite big, and you think that maybe, just maybe, you could confuse it for something like a cat, it just has a slightly different kind of shape to it, and then that, like I say, red coloration really is just distinctive. You can't really confuse it for much else, to be honest. It's a pretty distinctive dropping that we see out here. I actually saw its tracks going all the way along, so it was nice to actually see that it defecated there. I really wish we saw porcupines more. They're such amazing creatures. I absolutely love watching porcupines go about their business. It's so much bigger than what people think. If you've never seen a porcupine, a fully grown big porcupine with its quills erected will probably be where the stick is to me, so somewhere about there. Give you an idea of how big a porcupine actually is when it's standing. It is not a small animal at all, and those spines or quills are huge. Some of them are very, very long and quite flexible, and others are short, stubby, and super sharp. An amazing animal to watch going about its business. I really enjoy watching porcupines kind of bobbing about and finding food. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to go on holidays with my grandparents, and they were based in this area, and where they kind of ended up retiring was up on this mountain, and my grandmother was big into birds, and so she had a little bird feeder. But the problem is the bird feeder would drop all kinds of things down onto the ground, and particularly pup. Now, some of the birds would eat pup, which is quite strange. And I remember we used to sit as kids all night long. Well, I say all night, we were probably until like 9 o'clock. It felt like late. But we used to sit watching out the window, hoping that the porcupine would come and kind of scratch around at the bottom. And it came most nights, porcupine and a white-tailed mongoose, and they used to kind of just scrounge around right in front of the window, and we used to sit and watch them for hours on end. It was very, very cool. My brother and I used to do it all the time, so it was quite a special thing to watch them going about their things. My grandfather was not a huge fan because he used to have a vegetable patch very close. They used to grow all kinds of things, potatoes and carrots and the porcupines used to wreak havoc. They used to pull in there and just eat everything. It was a bit of a nightmare actually to try and keep them out. Between them and the baboons, it was always difficult to keep anything from actually being eaten, and so towards the end of his days, unfortunately, he just kind of ended up letting it go and just saying it was just too much effort to keep the wildlife out. And at the end of the day, it was an area where wildlife still roamed, and so it was okay for them to kind of do those things. Well, it's good times, those. It was a nice time of my life, to be honest. It was very good. Right, we're going to keep going. I don't know where these two leopards have turned now. We've lost their track, so we're just trying to see if we can find it again on this fire break. And so while we look, let's send you back across to Sydney and see if he's had any sign on his side.
No luck yet at the moment. I am around here, Treehousedom area, to try and see if maybe these leopards are thinking about going to drink there where we have just seen impalas and wildebeest. But when looking at the tracks here, is very much quiet, no tracks at all. Very difficult to find these leopards this morning. I haven't picked up their tracks yet, but the bushwalk team, they did manage to find their tracks. So I'm just going to go now towards the southern side of the reserve. Maybe is where our luck is. So these leopards are hiding, and I'm not sure if maybe they have caught something or they are on the move. Also checking right on top of these termite mounds because it's very much easy to pass the leopards. Specifically Kalamba. Kalamba can hide very nicely, I've seen that. So what is surprising me here is that also other animals are not here. Not only Tandy and Kalamba, it's difficult to find other species as well in this area. Safari Sally, I didn't get your question nicely. The best part of being a guide is that you interact with the people from worldwide. So it's very much good to meet people from different areas because you then start to learn what's happening in the other areas. So you interact with people from everywhere. That is the best part of guiding. Maybe these cats are somewhere hiding here. So I'm just making sure that each and every tree is scanned. I'm checking all. Oh, here comes the elephants. More elephants. You can see deep in those bushes there. Can you see them, Dave? Yeah, there's. Elephant, what? The average lifespan of the elephant is about 65 years. So these animals can survive much longer. They can live like we do. Oh, this is quite a big head. This one is bigger than the head we saw earlier. You can see they are also very much relaxed, not even breaking branches, very easy to pass them. Maybe it's the one who disturbed the movement of Tandy and Kalamba a bit. So the elephants are very much peaceful animals, but when they've got new babies is when they can be very dangerous. But also when the males are on a mast stage, the unpredictable condition caused by the level of testosterone is when they can be very, very dangerous. But mostly elephants, they are peaceful. All they need is a long distance of approach. They don't want you to go very much close. So the elephants, the males, they reach maturity when about 12 and a half years. So that skin is very much hard. Elephants are part of the pachyderms. The elephants, the hippos, and the warthogs, they've got very, very, very thick skin. I don't think the mosquito can bite the elephant. That skin is too thick. Positive, send your message. Yes, the ticks, they do affect the elephants. That is why if you can go to where these elephants are doing the rubbing post, if you look at those branches and those trees, you will see that these elephants, they are leaving behind quite a lot of ticks. You will see the ticks stuck on branches there. So it's showing you that they do carry some of the ticks. Positive, Herbert, send a message. Okay, copy that, thank you. So now we can carry on and see if we can find something. Maybe ahead of these elephants, maybe we might find something, because an elephant head always pushes their cats away. So now let's go back to the bushwalk and hear what they've got.
Well, we don't have very much. I've just dropped my stick, actually. But what we do have is one of my favorite trees that we get here in Africa, and that is a sausage tree. Now, I always walk past this tree now at this time of the year and hope that we'll start to see leaves coming down and flowers at some point, that we can actually get fruits, but we never really do. We just see the leaves kind of coming, and it's actually quite interesting because the leaves have just started to come out. So we're starting to see the first signs of greenery on this tree, and they are the most beautiful tree when they've got this thick foliated crown. And if they get their flowers, they get these beautiful big maroon flowers that come down, which attract all kinds of things. Now, most of people would think that trees like this with flowers would be pollinated mostly by insects and birds, but funny enough, the sausage tree is one of its biggest pollinators is actually bats, which is quite strange. So if nectar feeding bats, they'll come in and feed off the the tree itself and then spread it around and basically pollinate it. Now, the reason why you find a lot of bats is because often bats will utilize areas close to where this tree grows. So riverine systems, there's often banks and various overhangs that bats will use, and so it's quite close by, and it's there for a reason why they do use them. But the other thing about this tree that is very, very cool at the moment is there's quite a epic sighting happened here a while ago. We didn't see it, it was after drive finished, but essentially what we had is, if you come and have a look here for me, is that over here you will see that there are little basically scrapes within this tree. So this is where Thandi had taken up a kill. So this is her claw marks, these small little ones like this. So she took the kill up the tree itself, and then came along the Niconico pride. Now, the Niconico pride, being the size that they are, they don't get up a tree very, very easily. And so I want to show you the difference. If I put my finger next to Thandi's little claw mark, so there we go, there's my finger next to Thandi's claw. Now I'm going to show you a claw mark from a lion and the difference that they create on a tree. So there's a lion's claw mark, is much, much bigger and much wider, and the damage to the tree itself is huge in comparison to a leopard. And so the Niconico pride came up here and they stole it, and you can actually see how they struggled to try and get up. There's lots and lots of big deep gouges all throughout this tree, as they basically, the lion probably jumped over here like this, and it tried to then pull itself up, and you can see where these claws dug in over here to be able to go up. It's pretty cool to actually see them. It's quite amazing how deep the claws were, and these lions definitely struggled very hard to try and actually get into that area. Now I'm going to, there's a spider as well on your antenna shadow. Which antenna shadow? This one on the right. Oh, very well spotted, Senzo. That is very, very good. So I don't know if anyone can see it, but where Senzo's antenna was, so at the end of my stick over there, that is a spider that is camouflaging against the bark of this tree. Now, which spider it is, I'm not quite sure. I can't actually see it that well. Let's have a look there. What are you? That's very, very interesting. Well spotted, Senzo. That's on your cap now. It's on my cap now.
End of your cap, end of your cap.
There we go, end of my cap.
Yeah, on the shadow.
Oh, there we go. On the shadow. So there it is. Isn't that cool? Now I'm trying to see which spider it is. It should be easy to identify. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, but we should be able to identify it later when we go back. It looks bark spiderish, but it's not quite. Now you see at the back here, it's got these two extensions, these spinnerets that are coming off the back, that should be easy to kind of narrow down what it is, but its camouflage on this tree is incredible, absolutely amazing. So it just goes to show you, sometimes you need to stop and have a little look around, and you'll get to see some crazy cool things. Now it's got a seriously big set of eyes that are on top. I'm not 100% sure which spider this is. It's still quite slow because of probably it's a little bit cooler and starting to heat up. Still, insects are often quite slow in the early morning. It's unfortunately gone to a place where it doesn't camouflage nearly as well as what it did because of the lion's claw marks. There it is. Now look at the camouflage. Once it's up against the grey coloured bark, it is much, much better camouflage. That is amazing. Insects are incredible, aren't they? And I'm so looking forward to summer coming back because we get to see these guys a lot more. Zakina, no, I don't think the spider's poisonous, and I'll tell you why, because there's no spiders that are poisonous, and poison is something you ingest, so it's not injected. Injected is venom, so spiders are venomous, not poisonous, but this particular spider, I don't think so. It doesn't have hugely bright coloration on it anywhere. Remember that most animals that are toxic or anyway venomous generally have markings that will indicate that. So if you think of the essentially the black widows, they've got that bright red little marking on their abdomen. Oh, no, sorry, I touched the tree with my stick by mistake. I was busy too much focusing. So there's generally bright coloration that will be had. The only one that's not so bright is a sac spider, but a sac spider will have that dark kind of head that goes in contrast to this light colored caramel body. Now this is obviously where the spider has been staying and actually has had egg casings. You can see this is all the silk areas, and so I'm pretty sure this is where it's probably been laying its eggs, as these are all little egg pockets here. There's lots of web that goes all around the tree, so I'm pretty sure that this is where the spider has been laying its eggs. That's very, very cool. Well, Linda, is very, very simple. A sausage tree, oh, that's also amazing. Come look here, Senzo. if you can come in here nice and close, I'll get into your question now, Linda, but this is very cool. Do you see here, there's actually hairs for the lions where they climbed. So you can see their little hairs that have rubbed off when they jumped up. So there's actually little fine hairs that have caught on this branch as they were trying to struggle to get up. That's very cool. So I don't know if you can see them clearly. There's just kind of poking up. So you can just see them. So there we go. That's very, very cool. It's not every day that you get to see lion hairs lying about on a tree. So nice to actually see. Now, Linda, the name of the sausage tree comes from the seed pod that the sausage tree has. Now, Brent is in probably the prime position for us to be able to show you what a sausage tree pod looks like. Here in this area, this particular tree, like I say, is the only sausage tree that we know of on Djuma itself. There is one at Chitwa Dam, but it's inside the camp that produces fruit. But this one doesn't produce them, so it's difficult for us to show you them. But Brent will be able to. There's lots of sausage trees in the Mara, and they produce this big cylindrical shape seed pod that effectively looks just like a salami that's being hung up by a butcher, and so that's where the name sausage tree comes from. It's not because of the bark or anything like that. It's all to do with the fruit and seed pod itself. And they used to, I believe, dry them out and use them as loofahs, which is quite interesting. They're a massive fruit. It's really, they get quite heavy and they can be seriously dangerous. You wouldn't want to stand under a sausage tree when it's fruiting. I've seen many people that have parked under sausage trees because they think they're wonderful shade, only to come back with a giant sausage tree fruit like this straight through their windscreen or their back window. And so not a place where you want to park your car, and also you do not want to have a picnic under a sausage tree that's laden with sausage fruits. I will tell you though that they are incredibly beautiful when they've got their little sausages on, and particularly if you can catch them when there's flowers, and then some of the flowers have already started to produce little ones, then it really is the most beautiful tree. It's got, like I say, those flowers are absolutely wonderful to see and attract a hive of attention. You get all kinds of birds and insects and bats and all kinds of things. Really is quite a phenomenon. Right, we're going to leave our sausage tree. We're going to carry on and try and start slowly heading home, because it's getting to that time and we're a little far afield. And so while we head in that direction, let's send you across to Brent Leo Smith, who hopefully is near a sausage tree, or maybe will be going past a sausage tree, and will maybe be able to show you what the pod looks like.
Well, welcome back to the Mara. Even though the sun's out, it's still quite chilly. Unfortunately, I got a report about the 2 male cheetah that they crossed back into Tanzania last night. But apparently there were some lions around here earlier today, so just having a look. I'm not sure which pride would be here. It sounded like 2 males. And apparently they were lying on a hill, this little hill here, in a rocky area, but there's quite a lot of wildebeest and stuff around, so we just want to have a quick look. Let's go down and around. Woof! Still very chilly here in the Mara. Where could the lions be? So they said the small hill. There's about 3, so we're just having a look. Hi, Bob. Bob wants to know: are the animals that we encounter on safari still evolving? Most certainly. Most certainly. Even we are still evolving. Well, judging from the wildebeest, I'd say there's no lions on this little hill. So I think we need to check the next little hill. Oh, it's just so lovely on the burn at the moment. The green is just beautiful. So it doesn't look like too much happening down south, so we might head back towards the river. Edwin says, I hopes I find some lions lying around. So do I, Edwin, so do I. Preferably I'd actually like them standing up and stalking, but we'll take them lying down. maybe the next hill up ahead is the one that we're referring to. Oh, beautiful. Beautifully green. There's still quite a lot of the migration around. Most of them are in Tanzania, but they are coming backwards and forwards between Tanzania and Kenya on the burn. Maybe one of these other little hills coming up ahead here. I know that's where the lions are. Ooh, here comes the wind. Now, the wind can be quite frustrating, but generally if we have a really windy day, it means that we're probably not going to get rained on later, so fingers crossed. So while I continue on our adventures, let's send you back to Sydney, who hasn't had too much luck with the big cats this morning.
I have just picked up some very fresh tracks of Tandi and Kalamba here by Mandoza Road. So they are somewhere in this area, not too sure where exactly, but the evidence on the ground is telling me that these animals are somewhere hiding in this area. So the tracks got disappeared again here, and too much hyena tracks as well. So it means things has been happening here in this area. So these cats can be very, very much camouflaged. And now that the sun is picking up, Safari Sali, the elephants, their social structure is very much interesting because it is led by the female matriarch responsible to give directions and give decisions. She's the one responsible for decision making. And that, if you can check, a lot of African tribes, when it comes to the kingships and the chieftaincies, it is run the same way like elephant does things. The chief and the kings, they are responsible of ruling the places or the land. But in the families, they are not final decision makers. The oldest aunt is like a matriarch. All the chieftaincies and kingships, they are kind of a matriarchal system led by the female aunt. Mostly is the oldest aunt. She is the one responsible of taking decisions of what to do and what not to do. And she's the one who also approves who is going to be the next king or the next chief. So here, by the elephants and by the king and chieftaincies, patriarchy doesn't work. It's a matriarchal system. Chris, that is true. The elephants, if you look at their head, they've got a very big brain. Elephants can keep something in mind for more than 25 years. And what I like about them is that they can be able to associate the scent of their enemy. Every time they pick it up, they know this is my enemy. So they can associate your body scent. So the elephants are very much clever animals and they can learn very quickly. Their sense of smell is good, and if they associate your body scent with the problem, then it means every time they pick up your body scent, they will think about the problems that you have done to them. Too much big termite mounds here where I am. Nice place for these leopards to hide. Now let's go back to the bush walk and hear what they've got at the moment.
Well, we've got Senzo's got breakfast on the mind. He keeps telling me that he's hungry and wants to go and eat now, and so we're taking him back to have his eggs and bacon. Hey, Senzo? Yes, Senzo is nodding his head. He wants his eggs and bacon for the morning, so we're going to head back there. I'm very interested and intrigued that Sydney found tracks for Tandin Tlalamba on Mendoza Road, because it would be the first time ever in the time that I've known Tandi that she has been there. And so it would surprise me massively if she made that kind of move, taking her cub all the way there. I don't know what would trigger her to do that. It's right into the areas where Hukamuri was around, and kind of, you know, it just seems like a silly place for her to have gone. So quite intrigued by that as to why they might have gone there. Now, Roshni, do the leopards know I'm going on leave? No, I don't think so. I mean, I think they're just taking it very easy. Now, I just wanted to see, unfortunately, I wanted to come past here to see if our eggs for our lapwing, which were a while ago, so I would have thought they would have hatched by now, were around. But this is the little sort of hollow little ditch where the eggs were. They're gone. There's no sign of any hatching of the egg still around. So it seems as though maybe some predator got them. It's a wonder that these lapwings even get chicks and that they raise, because with all the predators out here, like jackals and civets and genets and the likes, you know, having a ground nest like this, it must be almost impossible to keep little ones alive out here. I know there are little blacksmith lapwings down near the dam cam. I went past there, what was it, yesterday morning? Yesterday morning? Yes. Was it yesterday morning? Was I on drive? I can't even remember anymore. And I tried to look for them, but I couldn't spot them, to be honest, and they are so small that can sometimes be quite difficult. So we'll just have to try again this afternoon or tomorrow maybe. So, sorry, if you can just repeat the name there for me, Emma. Pippa. How far have we walked? I don't know how far we've walked, to be honest, but quite far. Let's have a look. There's an app on my phone that tells me roughly. It's not very accurate, I don't think, but let's have a little quick squiz as to how far it says we've gone this morning. It says that we have done 8 kilometers this morning, which is not that bad. That's a fairly kind of gentle stroll for 3 hours. It's really not too crazy. So in miles, what would that be? It would be it's like close to 5 miles that we've walked this morning. And it's not so bad. It's really not too what would I say, straining on the old legs. It's about the standard kind of walk. Sometimes in these bushwalks, if we're really walking fast and we walk hard, then we'll sometimes cover basically, the furthest I've done is 14 on a bushwalk. So, you know, sometimes we walk far. If you walk with Steph or Brent, you generally walk a lot further, because both of them seem to walk a lot quicker. And who? James. James also likes a long stroll. Apparently, that's what's I'm being told by Senzo at the moment. It does not surprise me at all, because James, well, he's, as Brent said, could outrun an eland. I wonder if he could outrun a Gemsbok. I think it would be quite nice to see if James could outrun a Gemsbok. I reckon he could. James is the fittest of the fit. Conrad is not far behind, I'll tell you. The two of them often chase each other around on the runs that they go on every single day, and it's quite funny to watch them kind of doing it. And we see Conrad trying to keep up with James, but James invariably does win. Right, well, sorry, what was that, Emma? Conrad says he's still far behind. Conrad likes to sell himself short. It's not necessarily that way. Conrad is very fit and he keeps up with James for the most part. Right, it is that time though. We are heading back home. We are going to try and see if we can find some eggs and bacon for Senzo so that we keep him happy and fuel his legs that he's used this morning. So hopefully you enjoyed the morning and we'll see you all this afternoon. So from Brent, myself and Sydney, it's been an absolute pleasure and we'll see you this afternoon for our next edition of Safari Lives.